Greetings, Earthlings. What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
Greetings, Earthlings.
That's funny.
Let Your Words Count, episode 49.
Hey, moving right along with the episodes.
Yes, we are.
Yep.
That's what's up,
Anyway, how's everybody doing today?
bro. Feeling good.
That's awesome, man.
Feeling
That's
good
awesome.
today.
That's
Yeah,
good.
what about y'all?
Can't complain, bro. Good day.
Can't complain.
Good day.
No complaints here.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
done.
I heard there's this saying by Marcus Aurelius. Says in his journal, essentially, he says, never be heard complaining, not even by yourself. Like, don't even let yourself hear you complaining. Which is, I think that's a really, really valuable way to approach things. But
Good. That's
anyway, that's just a little, I'll give y'all that for free. That's a little nugget.
All right, you ain't gonna charge us.
That's on the house.
Oh, that's
Good
awesome,
stuff.
man.
good stuff.
Hey, G, you want to get right into it, man?
Let's do it. We're looking at the word purpose, one of the most important and fundamental words to the human experience. A lot of things kind of branch out into life meaning and our understanding of things based on purpose. So let's pull up the definition. We have purpose is the reason for which something exists, is created, or is done. It gives meaning and direction to actions and life itself. One more time, purpose is the reason for which something exists, is created, or is done, and it gives meaning and direction to actions and life itself. I'm going to jump into the etymology for us.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, so the etymology is from Old French purpose. It means intention, aim. Latin proponere, to put forward, to propose. Purpose originally meant that which is set before oneself as an aim or goal. And we're going to do the emotional lens here. Emotional lens is the positive: motivation, clarity, direction, fulfillment. The negative side is pressure, confusion, inadequacy, when purpose feels unclear. Why? Because purpose anchors our choices. When it's known, life feels meaningful. When it's missing, life can feel aimless. That's very good.
Let's do it.
Can you read that last sentence again?
Absolutely. So this is the why, the purpose, right? Is because purpose anchors our choices. When it's known, life feels meaningful. When it's missing, life can feel aimless.
Okay.
That's pretty powerful. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Right offhand.
I think Gary's stomach has something to add to the conversation.
Was that was me?
No.
I thought I ate before I came out.
That's actually mine.
Oh, that was yours? I'm about to say, I ain't feel it. Like Joey that day.
That was me.
Right. Yeah, what you got, man?
Me?
Yeah, it's your word.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Purpose. I really like the the idea that our choices in life tend to be anchored by our purpose or what our perceived purpose is, whether or not, throughout my life, I've gone back and forth with the concept that a purpose is given to an individual before they, arrive on this earth, before they enter this life. At some points, I've felt really strongly that that purpose is something that's predestined, and something that almost no matter what you do, you'll end up kind of circling back around to whatever that might be. And then I've come across moments in life where I feel like purpose is defined by us getting a greater understanding of ourselves and creating that purpose through that through that journey and that process.
Right.
Interesting.
Right now, to be honest, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle in terms of what I perceive in terms of what purpose really might be, or how it's achieved, or how it's created, or whatever. I do like the fact that just going back to that's why I asked him to read it again. That it really stuck out to me for some reason that when we've come to an understanding of purpose or feel a sense of purpose, that we tend to make choices based on that. As long as we keep it in the forefront of our mind. Of course, there are moments where we may stray from that path, but keeping our own purpose or the reason why we do what we do in the forefront of our minds helps us to make choices that are aligned with, whatever that purpose may be.
I like that.
I got some more thinking to do, so I'm gonna pass the ball to somebody else. If anybody else has anything to add, then we can kind of just obviously circle back.
Yeah, go ahead. You got something?
Yeah, I'm kind of initially thinking in the like division of purpose from like a general sense versus like a more individual one too, because purpose can be kind of given generally to a group or a group of people, and they may kind of share in a purpose. But I also think that it's important to have something, and like you mentioned, something that's personal that can help drive daily decisions. So even when it comes to the personal form of purpose too, I think that, you used the phrase zoom out the other week, right? There is this broad aspect of what a person may be needing to do, but then there's also that daily interaction, those daily actions that have to be driven by the right decisions. And I think that what that looks like is, and again, it's purposeful, but I think like kind of looking at what you think the highest version of yourself is, the best version of you, and then trying to make sure like your daily actions and decisions are kind of in line with what that best version of you is, right? Just because, again, sometimes goals and purposes may be kind of lofty or like a longer term thing. And it's important, I think, to have, again, that word anchor, kind of have an anchor to something, to kind of connect you to your day-to-day actions, conversation, things like that, of, being better, of being on the right path, that maybe doesn't have, I'm stepping into a completed goal every single day kind of thing, but that's showing a sign of progress and maturity as one is kind of, going through our daily routine. So.
Okay. So, Ethan, you got something to add? Or if not, I have a question.
I do have something, but I think I'm hold off right now.
Okay.
Right now, yeah.
So, my thought is since I've expressed that I'm, not necessarily set in stone with my understanding of purpose at the moment. I'd like to get you guys' input. So I mean, obviously, most of the time when we were brought up, our understanding of purpose was, something that is divinely given to us. Before I knew you before you were formed in the womb, I knew you had a purpose for you, things like that. How do you feel like that has impacted your life? Number one. And number two, have you come to the point at this point in life? We're all probably right around the halfway point of life, right? Ethan, you might be a little further. Do you feel like you've come to a real solid understanding of what that is? And if so, are you really working towards that? Are you walking in it? Is it something that is, and this is, obviously these are a bunch of questions, but is that something that we can actually, like, do you feel like you can achieve that with the time you have left? If if everything goes well in terms of health and longevity?
Very good question.
Are you speaking in terms of the purpose that was given to us then, or purpose we found since then?
Well, first I'd like to know what your interpretation of that is. Like, do you take that literally as if, a purpose that's been given to you before your parents even met? And if so, then, is that something that you've been able to discover? Because obviously just because it was assigned to you doesn't mean you don't enter kindergarten saying, hey, I'm going to be the next Martin Luther King. But, once have you found it, if you believe that it's been given to you or assigned to you, have you found it? If not, have you found it or created it or whatever? And if so, if you found it, if not, obviously that's okay. But if you have, do you feel like you're being effective in it in the way, and to the best of your current capabilities?
Oh, that's deep.
That's very deep, bro.
That's deep.
Questions that need answers.
So, Yeah.
You want me to try?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I'm gonna try.
He said try.
Mike, those are heavy. Those are heavy questions, especially now that we're doing Let Your Words Count. We can't afford to lie.
That's right. That's exactly right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think
Being honest
that-
with ourselves is a great way to let our words count.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are really taking ownership of these words, and these words got to be exemplified in life, right? So I'm gonna take some time with this one. So
Sure.
I think when you think about purpose, we have to understand that there's a developmental process aspect in purpose.
Okay.
We don't arrive overnight. We're not just born and we arrive at the finish line, right? So there's a journey that we take upon, and you said something earlier where wherever you find yourself at, you can't make an excuse not to perform, right?
Yeah.
And I think when we talk about purpose, it's funny. We asked this question earlier about, have we been handed a purpose, even when you have no clue what that purpose is? And the next question in my mind, just to add on to what you're talking about, is it okay to borrow someone else's purpose, right? And I was just thinking about that as you were saying, like you have some aspect where you were handed something to follow, and even if your heart is not guided towards that, is it still, I hate to use this unfair and fair, I hate to use that, but is it really fair? And it's the conversation, I'm gonna just use this, is it fair to be handed a purpose even if it's in your heart, you're not even fully aware of what that purpose means?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, I'm not sure if I'm even answering your question, but it's just
it definitely makes sense so
it's
far.
just a thought. So when you talk about that developmental process, we all arrive at the finish line differently, right? So some arrive, some in the process understand earlier than others, right? Me, my brother-in-law told me there's no such thing as a slow learner, right? But I actually believe it is at times, you know what I'm saying? Because I catch things at a later date, you know what I mean, more than others. So when me living out my purpose now, I really believe that I'm living out my purpose. It's very vague. The mirror is dirty.
Okay.
But I'm using
The old spit shine.
Yeah, so I'm giving the Wendigs. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my God.
Right. So I love that, because I'm thinking to myself, like, those are some hard questions that you're asking. So me, I'm rationalizing in my mind, do I see the best version of myself at the end? And I'm starting to see that. And I tell G this all the time, like I really don't think I'm of this world. Just the way I think, the things that I like, and the things that I feel that I'm going to be impacted by, right? Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. And I know we hear this all the time, like, what is this brother, alien or something? No, but I really feel the way I operate. I think we all should think like that in some, because we all have our own uniqueness.
Yeah.
That I believe that God has given all of us a serial number, right? You know, in some type of way. You know what I'm saying? Because we have our own
One of
unique-
one.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think there's a mold for all of us, right? So if somebody gives you a purpose to say, this is what you're going to do not, that removes choice away, right? When, if you say God has given us free choice, then how would it be of God if he doesn't allow us to utilize what he has given us? It doesn't even make sense, right? So as I see myself purpose, I'm fine tuning myself in order to get to that version of myself that I feel that's ideal, and it doesn't violate our creator. Did that make sense? And I think the whole idea is if God, if you say God, if you say in your heart, and you say, I've been reading scripture all this time and blah, 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 and you say in your mind that God has created man in his image and after a likeness in that type of way. So are you conducting yourself in a manner that is a result of our creator? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm purposing myself with this show and many, many other things is to lift not only myself, but be an example for others so they can lift up themselves as well. You know what I'm saying? So we all can be workers together so we can establish a position that is the best human being possible that we can do in the few years that we have. You see what I'm saying? If you think about 80 or 85 years, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's a blink of an eye.
That's nothing. So, and me finding this out at 40 years old, it's like, wow, you know what I'm saying? You're halfway, like you said earlier, you're halfway mark, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm gonna just leave it right there. Anybody have a thought? G, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the, excuse me, the purpose given, I think I have my own opinions about that. I'm not trying to influence or tell anybody else how they should think about that. But to me, the collective, again, like a purpose that kind of leads to groupthink and people, there's nothing wrong with being a part of a group and moving with a group. But sometimes if that purpose is given to you before you've really stopped to understand, does that line up with you, it could be a problem. So for me, I found that I had a higher vision of myself and things that I was supposed to be doing that I think are a given purpose from someone else didn't really fit the bill. So I think for me, it was more of a discovery process. Just, spiritual practices in my own, kind of seeking God and praying and things like that to try to discover something different that I do feel fit me better. And again, not that anybody that goes about it any other way is right or wrong. It's just, this is a journey. It's a learning journey. You know what I mean? And I could say that at even at my age, I'm always looking for more to learn, looking for little things I might come across in life that might tell me a better way to go, a better way to be. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with saying that I'm still a student at 46, 47 years old, still learning, still going through, that aspect of trying to look at life as bringing something new to you every day and looking for, where can I learn more and be better? So in that, I don't mind saying, like, even as we were kind of researching for today, like one of the things that I was looking at and kind of looking at it as a self-correction kind of thing, because I probably do tend to look at purpose as like a destination thing. And as we were kind of doing like some of the planning for this episode, and one of the sayings I came across was purpose is applied by aligning actions with one's values and passions. It should be approached as a compass, not a destination, something that evolves as we grow. And I don't think I looked at it like that, but I do think that's a better way to approach it. And I'm saying that because, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, if you're looking at it too much as a destination or as a destination that has to be fulfilled every single day or realized every single day, it can throw you off and can be discouraging, confusing if you're looking for some huge goal to be or purpose to be realized and completed every single day. And it will make you not see the forest through the trees. You won't recognize progress that's been made because you're looking at, I didn't meet the end goal today. So looking at it as a compass that guides daily actions. And am I lining up with where I want to eventually be without making purpose the eventually be kind of state? Then I think it's something that can be powerful and positive for us. And again, okay for us to kind of go and seek out what that is, as long as we're finding that purpose that we've discovered is something that we feel is fulfilling and fits the highest version of us, right?
Okay. So in your mind, is purpose not necessarily a singular? Well, you've said that it doesn't necessarily feel as much like a destination or some sort of singular item or task or accomplishment or anything like that.
I think it's all encompassing. I think it's the process to the goal and the goal itself.
So it's a combination of both. Okay, so. I got you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Going back to what Ethan was saying, like I really appreciated you mentioning, the fact that people each of us, each individual reaches different heights, levels at different times. The beauty there is that we don't have to compare ourselves to anybody.
That's right.
So I agree with your brother-in-law. There is no such thing as a slow learner, because you learn at your pace, and the only pace that matters is your pace. You know what I'm saying? Whether you pick up things fast or slow compared to other people is irrelevant, as long as it's not something where you have to, get finished in a certain amount of time. Right. But that's not what life is about. Life, like you mentioned, G, is about the journey. Mm-hmm. So I have a question. Is purpose, well, I guess I'll answer my own questions first, and then I'll ask another question. So for me, I feel like my purpose is evolving in the same, or very similarly to how you both described it. Ethan, you described it as a mirror that is currently a little bit cloudy, that you're getting more and more clean as life goes on, and you can see better what you're looking at, yes, essentially. And G, you just described it as a compass, mm-hmm, that is more more intended to guide or point the way, as opposed to just setting up a finish line somewhere in the distance and you just sprint till you can find it.
Right.
I think mine is really closely related to both of those. Mm-hmm. We grow up thinking about purpose. We grow up thinking about even in terms of just like career. We think, mm-hmm, what do I want to be when I grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up, Mikey? Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about it my entire life.
For sure.
But until I realized that it's not necessarily about the end goal or the finish line as much as it is about finding a way to be as impactful with every single step as possible. Mm-hmm. That's when I started to feel like, okay, I'm walking in what I would consider purpose, mm-hmm, not necessarily a purpose or the purpose, but I walk on purpose. I move on purpose. It's about being intentional with every individual step, gotcha, making as much impact with every moment as possible, gotcha, not only within my own life and my own journey, but also the impact that I have with other people, gotcha, conversations like this and, mm-hmm, conversations with, yeah, things like that. So that's mine.
I like that.
My question is purpose inevitable? Is it something where no matter what route you take, and this can go a lot of different ways, so I'll frame it this way. In the lifetime that we've been given, is purpose inevitable? And that's the reason why I feel like that's a difficult question to answer with any certainty. And we don't have to have certainty. That's the beauty of being, mm-hmm, a human being. We're, mm-hmm, still learning. Mm-hmm. But the reason why I feel like it's difficult to answer with any certainty is because we see people whose lives are cut short early in life, mm-hmm, that may not have done a whole lot, or what we would consider to be a whole lot, mm-hmm, with their lives, or, maybe even, unfortunately passing away during childhood and things like that. So yeah, my question is, even with situations like that, was there or is there some sort of purpose that is still manifested in those lives, like to mean that purpose is inevitable no matter what you were put on here on this earth to accomplish, that the experience or the accomplishments, whatever, do you accomplish that regardless of what your life looks like, what path you take, what decisions you make?
I think what makes that question so difficult is that it's a perspective question.
Okay.
And the way that somebody is looking at life will determine the answer to that question. So, again, going back to, we're the three of us are, I know just because from our conversations, we're always looking at ways to get better. We're always reading, we're studying, we're having discussions, trying to figure out ways to improve. And one of the books that I've been looking at and am trying to, absorb and process and see how it hits me, talked about purpose even like recently, something I was reading in a unique way that I hadn't thought about before, because it was talking about how we can get caught up seeing exactly what you mentioned, somebody that dies young. somebody that has something that we would view as very unfortunate happen to them, and looking at the effects of the people who are still around. And this book kind of spun it like, if you have, let's say you have a friend and that friend has a child who passes away young. And we've seen these things before. Somebody gets sick or somebody has something happen to a family member, and all of a sudden people are upset at God and questioning, what's wrong with my life, and God, how come you did this to me, and how could this happen, and so on and so forth. And this book kind of gave this different perspective, like, you don't know. And again, this book, I probably shouldn't even brought that up because the background of it probably isn't palatable to a lot of people. But I guess if we can talk about it. Ain't nobody here
but us three, bro.
I mean, but if we can talk about it in terms of, you know what I'm talking about. There's people that might not think the same way as far as some of the background stuff. But if we talk about soul purpose and eternal purpose, I know. If our souls are coming from an eternal creator, divine source kind of thing, and we are too, then you don't know what the purpose is of every soul that comes down here. And to think that you do is too lofty, too forward thinking, to assume that you know why a soul has come. And saying that when you look at a situation when a parent loses a child, you don't know if that child's soul was there to help that parent go through that period of grief, and that parent to go through that period of grief as something to build them up or make them better or stronger or whatever. And saying, like, to try to insert yourself in, oh, this looks unfortunate, this looks bad, I'm upset, I'm whatever, I want to pray that this was different, I don't know God, why God did this kind of thing, whatever, instead of looking at it like that situation is what it is, and I pray for everybody to be the best that they can through that. But, it's forward of me to assume that I know what would have been best for everybody else involved. I don't know. And I've seen very negative situations still birth something great and powerful and positive in people that have gone through it, when at the time they were going through and that negative thing first hit them, that wasn't apparent that they were going to end or land on their feet and land in a better spot than they were, right? So that's what I'm saying, like, perspective plays a part, because if we're not looking at a soul as an eternal thing and as, only tied to our one existence here, then that's something that's kind of hard to visualize. So
that's a really good, that very last point that you made. I want to just make sure that we say that again, because the rest of your argument hinges on that. You said that if we are looking at a soul outside of the fact that we consider it to be an eternal thing, a soul that has no beginning and no end, and if we limit our idea of any individual's existence specifically to this lifetime, then we lose sight of how, important one moment is, even just to be alive on this planet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's another zoom out moment. Yes. Yes, it is. It becomes imperative to zoom out. Right. I was listening to a teacher. Oh my God. Goes on the wrong camera. I was listening to a teacher. I don't know, a while back, and he wasn't talking about what we're talking about, but he made a comment that kind of applies. He said that there's a level of stupidity to have absolute certainty about something that you are not actually certain about.
That's true.
So like he was speaking specifically on the trying to think of how I want to say this, to the zealous nature of, certain religious sects and things like that. So like, we're ready to go to war over certain ideas or certain concepts and things like that. Yep. To literally end other people's lives because they disagree with what we feel like we're certain on. And the truth of the matter is neither party is actually certain. That's right. None of us have ever been on the other side of death. Nope. None of us. Nope. You know what I'm saying? And so to be completely certain without acknowledging that there are a great deal of things that we don't know. Yes. Absolutely. Without embracing our own ignorance in that way, then it's literally stupid. For sure. Just flat out. Yep. And so the reason why I bring that up, not to just, fling an insult, but partially to fling an insult, but I'm just kidding. The reason why I bring that up is because, to your point, it's stupid to assume that we have an understanding of what is in the mind of God, so to speak. There's no way that I can tell you the reason why you lost a loved one. Right. I can't presume to know that. I can't presume to know why, this child over here lived all the way through and had a full life to 80, 90, 100 years old, and this one didn't live past 6 years old. I can't. I don't have the authority or the knowledge at all.
Right.
And as soon as I start to speak on it, then there comes the stupidity.
It's a problem. Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm getting off of purpose. I'm sorry.
Good.
I just
you good.
I wanted to make sure y'all knew that.
No, I think we become very arrogant in our mindset because we think we know a thing or two, and even with knowledge, when Paul the apostle.
Ooh. Oh my God.
Even with you all right? Mm-hmm. When Paul the apostle was talking about, because I was calling people stupid. Yeah, so when
Devil got me in a stranglehold.
and we are live.
That boy choked out loud on the air. Oh my God. All right.
No, it's good. I done forgot my thought, man.
I'm sorry, bro.
No,
I'm sorry. That water went down the wrong way.
no.
But it's like we know it all.
Huh?
You
Yeah.
were saying about
You said we become very arrogant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We become very arrogant with thinking that we know a thing or two. When we talk about knowledge puffing up, and sometimes when you don't have any knowledge, you still puff up, right? And that's something that we have to be very, very careful of. I've just been thinking more and more about what you were talking about, Mike, about this purpose is, once again, has that purpose been given to us in a box with a bow on it and say, here, take that and believe that. And when it comes to religion and when you can brainwash, and there's no doubt that most religions is a brainwashing event that happens. You have to really take a step back and zoom out. You really have to zoom out and really be honest with yourself and say, do I really believe this right now? And it's okay for that moment of development to ask that question. God allows you to ask that question, but we've been conditioned to believe that God doesn't give us that opportunity to question that moment in that time. It is very important for us to realize that.
Yeah.
And when you talk about, this is very good, y'all. This is very deep. When I started thinking about, when you're saying, to me, I look at purpose as an umbrella. And I think that there's a lot of things that go underneath, a lot of components to purpose. And when I think about those components, I think about the outliers that happen, because the deaths that happen, that occur in our lives. How do you want to use these unintended opportunities that show up? How do you want to evaluate, examine, and the choices that you make when events
Like
happen?
when tragedy strikes, you mean?
When tragedy strikes, even the good, right? What are you going to become when the good comes? Because there's a lot of people can't handle the good things. A lot of people can't handle a winning lottery ticket.
Yeah. Upper limit problem. Read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's called The Upper Limit Problem. But
Upper limit?
Yeah.
All right, let's write that down. Upper limit problem. And so I'm just say this. I'm gonna give it to everybody, because I think that purpose, once again, is that umbrella, and there's a lot of components that happen in mechanics. Definitely the mechanics that happen. If you look at our thumbnail, you'll see a man holding a bow towards a bullseye. The thing is, what I love about the thumbnail is basically saying you are in control of the arrow. It doesn't matter if the leaves fall down and everything. And the wind blowing, you are going to have to be the one to shoot the arrow to that bullseye. You see what I'm saying? And that's what purpose is. You have to be purposeful within your purpose. And I think that is one of the things that I think we fail to realize. And like you were saying about the clarity, you got to remind yourself of the milestones. You have to remind yourself of the goal in mind. Not necessarily, we say the destination, but where you were bringing about the compass, and I totally agree with that. But even holding the compass, you don't necessarily have to visualize completely exactly how the destination is going to look, as long as you know that there is a destination that you're reaching for. And I think that that's the key. All right, I'm done.
No, yeah, that was really well said.
Yeah.
Okay, so forgot my question. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So obviously, you know, we've hit 30s, 40s in life, and you know, we're getting to a point where we're still saying, you know, purpose is becoming more clear as time goes on. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's the case, and it'll probably be that way, you know, for the rest of the time that we have here.
Right.
My question is for people who are a little, I don't want to use the term aimless, but something along those lines. For people who are still seeking, I guess you could say. Some people who may not have even come across one portion of what they feel like their purpose is, or haven't grasped the concept fully of being able to walk in purpose or live on purpose. How do we approach that? Do you remember the time in your life, the moment or the series of moments where purpose started to become clear, where you started to be able to look and say, I feel like I'm being more intentional with my life. I feel like this really feels more like my purpose. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
I do. I would say this before G talk, right? I'm
good.
Because I'm just, it looked like you was ready. I think
locked and loaded.
It was to me, it was the voices in my head.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Now, is it I hear voices?
Yeah. Go lay on the couch. We're going to take notes.
I love it. So it's the voices in my head, and the voices in my head was like challenging me, causing me to introspectively look and ask myself, is that something that you really think that you've thought through, you know, completely? Have you really considered? And one of the things that I started asking the questions back, like in something like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like a dialogue.
It's like a dialogue, which is, I know that sounds weird, but I think that we need to practice. I think we need to start practicing that and like really believe that if it's not harmful, if those thoughts creates a pathway to harm, then that's an issue. But if it's a question that motivates a person to tune out and cut through noise, that is the important voices that you want to kind of grasp and listen to, because it's sharpening your way of thinking and evaluating yourself and the choices that you're going to make in the future. And I think that's very, very important. But those, going back to the voices, that's when I started to realize that, man, am I going back to, I don't know if I'm of this world. Mm-hmm. And that's not a bad thing to think, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to have a thought process of groupthink, because who I call my commander in chief is Jesus, right? He's the real deal. And to me, the way he was able to articulate thought and the things that he brought up was not a violation to the Creator at all, right? But he represented his Father to the fullest. And those thoughts that he had was the same thoughts that I started to entertain and evaluate in my mind, because I started to become something else that I knew was, I'm just flat out, I was a man pleaser, right? Not even knowing it, right? So religion actually creates men pleasers instead of God pleasers. You have to realize that.
By man, you mean humanity, right?
Humanity. Okay. Humanity across the board.
I just want to be clear for any childish people in the
So you so goofy.
Including me.
Yeah. So I want to be honest with the audience. I want to be honest with the audience that I was actually inheriting somebody else's purpose.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I didn't truly, honestly know how to evaluate the purpose to make a choice to say, this is not what I want.
You had a life with a plan from the hand of somebody else?
Where have we heard that before?
We've heard that from somebody, right? Yeah, but that's it, man. I can speak more about it, but I'll hold my tongue for now. But that's kind of like being very honest
so your internal dialogue is really essentially what catapulted you to, so like just at some point in life, you just hit a point where you started to question things that previously went unquestioned.
Correct. Correct. Right. Yeah.
Mine is very similar, actually.
Yeah. It's beautiful because it's once again we going back to the silence episode, right? The silence episode is really sitting down and really understanding that silence is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity for growth. You know what I'm saying? But we don't. But a lot of times we look at silence as some type of hindrance or block from God, and it's not. It's actually that's the area where you create an opportunity for God to truly communicate with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm done. Go ahead. Anybody?
I'm good, bro.
Do you remember the moment in your life when you started to become more aware of purpose?
It happened over a long period of time.
Do you remember what the catalyst may have been? Or catalysts?
Thinking about the way I was, I think, taught to treat people in religion and ministry, and hearing from people on the other side of people who had been on the receiving end of that kind of treatment, and realizing what it did to them and what it made them feel, and that sickening feeling I had in my stomach, kind of realizing that I had been doing harm in the name of love and masking it, and knew for years I didn't feel right with it, but kept pushing ahead because that's what I was listening to everybody else tell me what our purpose was and what we were supposed to be and how we were supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be treating people, and feeling in my heart that it wasn't right, and knowing that I still did it because I was too fearful to challenge it and to go do something different. So it was a series of things, but that was probably the big point that kind of convinced me that it was time to do something different. Similar to what Ethan said too, like that learning what silence meant, and my long path from ministry to not being in the church to where I am now, and realizing that I did not agree with the way I was taught to understand God, and that God was so much more and better and different than what I thought I had been taught about. Those periods of silence, those periods of be honest with myself about what I think, what I feel, what feels right to me, and in the silence that we tend to avoid because it feels unproductive, it feels lazy, it feels like we're just wasting time. But in those times of silence, that's a complete opposite of the way we're taught to talk to God or communicate with God in prayer, that you fill your head and just talk nonstop. When you finally stop that and shut up and listen with the intent of hearing and communing the things that come forth through you, your stream of consciousness, whatever you want to call it, it answers questions. And as I started getting some of those questions answered and started being honest about, just honest with myself about things, purpose became a lot clearer. So.
Here we got a comment here. From James Cole.
Ooh. Yo, my guy. What's up, Brother Cole? How you doing, sir? We salute you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He says, without knowing your own purpose, it's easy and even natural to latch on to someone else's.
Say that one more time.
Without knowing your own purpose, it's easy and even natural to latch on to someone else's.
Yes.
That's so true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's how we create blind followers. That's how that's where it comes from. Someone who has not spent a sufficient amount of time understanding who they are.
Yes.
And what their direction is, you know what I mean? And so if you don't do that, the default, like you said, is natural. It's literally a natural progression of things to just latch on to, the
tribe.
Yeah. Or, the most charismatic person that's telling you what to do, or offering that instruction or that leadership.
Yeah.
I think that, go ahead.
Keep that thought.
Yeah.
So, when you think about, it's funny because that's when, I don't know if victim is the word to use, or a person that will make an excuse it's easy for that person that's latching on to someone else's purpose to make an excuse and blame somebody else for them not finding their own purpose.
That's why it's comfortable.
Oh, go ahead, G. You said what?
I'm just adding on to what you're saying. That's why it's comfortable. It takes away accountability.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't have to be accountable for it or for the outcomes if you're saying this is what everybody else is doing and what I was taught to do. It's like I got to the point I had to grow up. That wasn't good enough for me anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's it, it's very succinctly said. You just had to grow up.
Yeah.
Going back to what you mentioned about finding stillness in order to kind of get the answers to those questions, or even realize that those questions are there or need to be asked.
Yes.
I think it's not just about laziness. I think it's also about fear.
Yes. True. Yeah.
Being, I mean,
absolutely.
Most of us, like Ethan mentioned, having that internal dialogue. I'm not going to say voices in your head.
It's a terrifying thing to a lot of people.
Yeah. Being able to sit and deal with
I love it.
the constant, nonstop stream of thoughts. Some people call it the call of the void. Being able to deal with that and to number one, sift through it to find valuable pieces of information or thoughts or ideas or revelations. It takes a lot of discipline, and it also takes a ton of courage. It takes so much courage to say, I'm going to sit and literally just listen to what my thoughts are. It'll teach you a lot about yourself. It'll teach you a lot about what you've been consuming in terms of music, media, things like that. It'll also, like G mentioned, once you've learned how to kind of tune in, it can start to give you guidance or share ideas on things that you've prayed for long ago that you forgot about, that have literally just been sitting in your head waiting on you to be quiet long enough to get the answer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it takes an extreme amount of courage because, most people's minds are chaotic. They're madness, I mean, I'll say maybe all people's minds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until we have found a way to silence them or make them be a little more still.
I mean, it's by program or by design right now, especially with the social media platforms and different things like that. It almost pushes people in a way of having negative thoughts instead of positive thoughts in many ways. Like
to me, it's a machine that forces you to compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
And as long as you're spending even a moment concentrating on what somebody else has going on, you're losing focus on what you should have going on.
100%.
Every single moment. Go ahead.
The dopamine chase is the other thing.
Yeah, it's literally a drug.
There has to be a constant feed of something and never quietness. Again, it runs contrary. Yeah. Social media is the antithesis of, I think, the mindset that brings the most progress. You know what I mean? And I'm on social media. I'm not saying that to demonize it. It's not whatever, but just saying that if you have an addiction or dependency on it, it's going to be harder to find purpose and meaning in life. In my opinion.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it creates dependency by design.
Yes, that's exactly.
It's stronger than heroin. It's stronger than caffeine. It's stronger than nicotine.
And
it's literally
studied, documented.
Yeah, and it's getting more impactful and potent every moment.
Absolutely.
But anyway, okay, so I was just kind of writing down some common threads from your answer, and from the answers that I know that I have, and I think that three things kind of culminate in maybe kickstarting a person's journey towards finding that purpose.
Good.
Number one is making a decision to be honest.
100%. 100%.
Absolutely right.
We consider ourselves honest because we don't, I don't lie to my friends. I don't lie to my wife. I don't lie to my blah, 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 whatever. Do you lie to yourself?
That's the key.
Completely different.
Yeah. It's completely different.
Yeah.
It takes an entirely different level of commitment to be honest with oneself. So that's number one.
I love it.
Making a decision that will be honest with ourselves. Number two is, and this is probably going to be the one that may be a little controversial depending on what audience we have listening, is challenging the status quo. Challenging the existing standards. challenging the existing values, belief systems. Here's my thought. If something is sound, then it'll stand up to being challenged.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
We've heard that our entire lives.
100%.
Sound doctrine stands up.
Yes, it
and
does.
and it does.
Yes,
if
it
it's
does.
sound, it'll stand up to any challenges or
right.
questions or curiosities. So I think that's step number 2, being willing and moving forward with challenging and asking why. And then the third thing that I wrote down is seeking deeper clarity. Finding ourselves having the curiosity of a child that wants to know why to everything. You know what I'm saying? It gets on some parents' nerves, well, you got to go to bed. Why?
Right.
Because you got to get up in the morning. Why?
Right.
Well, because you got to go to school. Why do I have to go to school? But the mindset that goes behind asking that why, seeking deeper clarity for every single thing, or as much as possible, as much as you're willing to, because, some things can be a little jarring when you find out. But I think these 3 things,
I love it.
being honest, making a decision to be honest. I want to word that very intentionally. Making a decision to be honest, challenging the status quo, and then seeking deeper clarity. I think those are the 3 steps that if anybody may be looking to find that purpose or to seek out their purpose, those 3 things are going to be a really good way, in my opinion, and based on just, you guys' testimonies and my own, to take that first step.
I love it.
What's interesting
By
about,
the way, I wish we had Brother Cole here.
oh yeah.
Got in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. He was supposed to be here.
Man.
So one thing about the 3 is it has me thinking. It's not that I disagree with it, but it's something I want to add as a cautionary thing. Because when you talk about curiosity, and we were going back to social media, discussing social media, there's a lot of curiosity in that, right? And learning how to utilize curiosity to a place that you don't reduce your destination, your journey to your destination. Because if you start scrolling like with your curiosity, you can definitely go down this path of
down
not
a rabbit hole.
Down that rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So it's just a caution, like when you use that seeking deeper clarity, because a lot of people are using ChatGPT and many constructs, which is really good for gaining information, knowledge, data, and whatnot. So, but be very, very careful to not depend, the word you guys use, depend on it to a point where it's actually governing your life in some type of way. But use that because number 3 is really meant for a mature individual. It really is, because seeking deep clarity is that silence. Seeking, deeper clarity is talking amongst people that's been there, done that, and really want to open up and be honest. Because 3 is really contingent on 1 and 2.
That's right.
And I think that's very important. That's why I really believe that is for a couple of notches higher in growth, so to speak. So that's my thought.
I think that's an excellent point. Being cautious or being careful, taking care, taking care with the things that you dive into, because we've all seen people who have gone down the rabbit hole and never came out. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I agree with you 100%. Now, okay, so then if that's the case, then how do we exercise that caution? What are we on the lookout for? And I don't want to take us too far off topic, but I feel like if we're offering some level of advice, we should,
I got something for that. I think that it's funny that I was looking at the notes here, and it's talking about reframing purpose as presence with intention. So be very intentional. And so a person that is social media, their intentions might be skewed. So like people that we're developing ourselves like this, we want to make sure we bring them on our journey as well. Not give them our purpose, but let them know that you mean something, you are purposeful, you're beneficial. And not telling them what they're doing is wrong, but invite them with the right questions so they can consider in their own mind, like, okay, I think I'm not being intentional right now. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's one way of looking at it. Now, I'm not saying that's the number one and end all, but I think it's just an invitation with you on a journey. You know what I'm saying? And I think going back, and I'm not trying to dog religion or anything like that, or the way we was raised, but I think a lot of times we weren't invited, even though we say we were invited. No, you wasn't. You were demanded. It's like you dragged. You know what I'm saying? But I think Jesus is like being the perfect example. You know, he says, "Hey, the kingdom of God is at your reach." You know what I'm saying? It's at hand. And then people were astonished by his words, and it was like, that's when the curiosity came in. That's the proper curiosity, because what this man was speaking was totally different than what they previously heard for generations. And this man is a trendsetter, dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, you had something, Mike.
No, that was a good point, G.
Ask the question again.
My question is, how do we avoid in our curiosity, in our seeking, how do we stay, I guess you could say, safe? What advice would you have for that?
Oh man, I think
when seeking purpose, when seeking that deeper clarity, when using all of the avenues, or maybe most of the avenues that are available to the average human these days, everything from the internet to libraries and books and other people, and religious, different religious sects and things like that. When taking advantage of exploring all of those avenues, how do we stay careful enough to still get what clarity we need, get in, I hate to say it as information, but I'll just use the word information. And then come out on the other side without too many bumps and bruises and not losing ourselves in the rabbit hole.
Having done both of those things,
I was literally, you took the words out of my mouth. Oh my God, that's crazy. I was about to say, you've done them all.
having done both of those things, bumped my head, gone down the rabbit hole, going to extremes, trying to find answers, and coming back around to where I am today, I think it's mostly about your intention. It's mostly about what do you want to be when it's all said and done, and what do you want to see when it's all said and done. There's a lot of things I've come across that I think are true, that I think are weird, but at the same time, there's not a whole lot I can do with it in terms of my life and my path. And I think asking, again, what do I want to do with this information? What do I want to be when it's done? And how do I want to be affecting other people are some of the most important questions, because there is an abundance of information out there, and you can't always tell the intent of the person based on what they're saying. We've grown up, and again, we just not just trying to whatever. It is what it is. We've grown up listening to people talk about love while saying hateful things. And it's not out of the ordinary for people to say one thing and then in practice do something different. So you have to have a mindset to look at when this information that I'm consuming is said and done, compare it. What does the most good to the most people? And you have to go with, if you're led of that kind of mindset, go with the thing that does the most good for the most people. If it's harmful, if it's one person at the expense of another, think again. Reconsider what you're listening to. Reconsider what you're accepting, what you're embracing, following, chasing, whatever. Find the thing that has the highest benefit to the most people and matches the highest version you have, the highest vision you have of yourself. And if you let that lead your curiosity, you'll be most of the time in a good place. And when you find something that's not serving you and it doesn't pan out that way, be quick to drop it and move on to something better.
There's a scripture that I feel is perfectly relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even going to try to quote it, but it references a group of people from a place called Berea. I think the shout out that they received is exactly what you're talking about. So whatever it is that you come across when seeking clarity, or it always has to be, you have to go back to step number 2. You have to be able to challenge it and make sure that it's sound. You have to, like you said, you have to weigh it against the benefit of your own soul and the souls of others that you come in contact with.
True.
I think in doing so, as long as you're doing number 3, seeking deeper clarity, and then stepping back to step number 2, and stepping back to step number 1, challenging it with honesty.
That's it, man.
As long as you keep these 3 in a constant cycle with whatever we come across, I think that along with the intention of making sure that it's going to be something that is edifying to your soul, and I'll use the phrase that is works within what we would consider to be the will of God. Mm-hmm. Then I think you'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'll make myself available. Anybody that's. Wait a minute. No, I'm not. I was getting
that brother is.
No, I'm not. And the reason why I'm not is because I'm not a guru. Like I don't know. I'm still learning this junk myself.
I love it.
So I don't have all of the answers, but I'm kidding. But I am. I'm willing to encourage people that are taking those first steps, because I know how challenging that is.
I love it. Check this out.
And that's what I'm available for, but I'm not teaching.
No, you got it. You good, man. I understand that. But brother, James want to talk about your second point. He said, for Mike's second point, you are not necessarily being rebellious, but it takes maturity from those that are part of the status quo to receive the challenge with the mindset of growth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they defend, and the result is contention and not growth.
That's exactly right.
Very true.
That's exactly right. And I think that when I'm specifically referring to challenge, I don't necessarily mean, and this may be rebellion. So I hope you're still active in the comments so you can let me know. When I am considering challenging the status quo, I don't necessarily mean taking it to
right.
Let's just call it what it is. Let's say I'm talking about the church as we know it. If I'm challenging, let's say, a tradition, we'll keep it light. If I'm challenging a specific tradition that we would consider to be status quo, I'm not going to, personally, this is me, I'm not going to challenge that with a conversation with the people who are, hammering the status quo home. Like, what am I going to talk to y'all about it for?
The gatekeepers.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like, because to the point that Brother Cole made, most of the time, we're talking about people that have been entrenched with what they believe, and that's okay. I don't hold anything against them at all, but I do understand that it's the allegory of the cave. Yeah. If I go and say, hey, I found this. What do y'all think about this? You're not about to stone me. No, sir. Nope. I'm gonna do, my due diligence in terms of seeking and searching. We have so many avenues to gain understanding, in terms of gathering. I mean, there are limitless amounts of books. I heard this joke. I'm going to say this and I'm going to get off of it unless Brother Cole has a response.
He actually does have one.
Okay, all right. Let me get this joke off, Brother Cole. This joke said you can read 2 books and you can be an elementary school teacher. You can read 3 books and you can read 2 books and be an elementary school teacher, and you can ruin the lives of the next generation. You can read 3 books and be a professor and bore the next generation to death. Duh. You can read 1 book and be called an agent of God.
Wow.
Imagine everything that you know, everything that you teach, everything that you believe coming from one single collection of writings, when there is an unlimited collection of writings that have come before, that were written during, and that have come after the time when one book was written. I'm not disparaging the Bible at all.
Right.
I'm gonna get in trouble for this.
Yes, you are.
I'm not disparaging the Bible. I'm a grown man.
It is what it is.
I'm not disparaging the Bible at all. I still hold true to a lot of the values and the beliefs that I adopted from there. Jesus, like you said, Jesus is my commander in chief, baby. That's all I think about when I'm talking about how to live life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, one single solitary collection of ideas and beliefs and things like that, we consider it to be the word of God. But then there's so much more in-depth knowledge to be had. That's really my only point. And so I'll leave it there. I hope that wasn't too harsh for everybody. What is
No, he says, no, and listen, I'm gonna say this, man. I'm with you 100%. You know what I mean? And I think that I think that's one of those challenges that those are the thoughts that came in my head. And I know it wasn't of Satan, like people would say, that's Satan dealing with you. I'm like, no, that was God dealing with me. You know what I'm saying? And what it was is like really being honest and open to the source, my creator, my heavenly father, right? And what when your heavenly father, would he destroy you for asking a question? You know what I'm saying? To have a thought? I don't think so. You see what I'm saying?
We watch men do it so long.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's what we think God is about.
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
we have really got away from purpose on this one.
Yeah, I mean, no, actually, no. It ties in. It actually ties in. It really ties in because when you talk about, when we say, when you hold up the Bible and you say, this is the unadulterated word of God, it's just like, no, that's a book, right? Now, it contains the word of God, right? You know,
and even if it is,
very important.
And even if it was, even if there was, even if the Bible was a completely perfect set of documents, are we really going to assume that God has never spoken before or after those 66 books?
That was my point. My point is, what comes first, the scripture or the word of God? It's like somebody had to write it down, so they had to come.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And that's the reason why I'm saying it's like what we do is we actually create our own limitations by not asking the right questions to source
Or asking questions at all.
at all, right? So let me go right here to Brother James. He said, a powerful point, being mindful of how your actions impact others. Yeah. It shows love for others without negating ourselves. We actually have a godly duty to consider others. And I absolutely agree with that, man.
100%.
I absolutely agree with that,
100%. And walking in purpose will help us to fulfill that godly duty. Finding purpose, seeking purpose, and walking in it, walking with intention, will help us to live out.
Yeah. 100%, man.
And that goes back to the point that you all were making too, and this is why we've challenged the ideas like this, because as we speak, there's a place on the side of the world where humans are being killed, in a place where half the population is under age 18. And the people that are being killed there right now are because they're holding so strongly to a book that tells them that they're chosen above everybody else. And accepting that book as coming directly from the mouth of God without question, and not being able to challenge or question it makes them think they're justified in executing children on a regular basis because they're chosen and separate and different. So looking at the consideration for other people, I'm going to hold, anytime you have an exchange, anytime you accept something new or learn something new, you have a piece of information that you hold before, and you have a piece of information that you have to weigh and decide which one is right for you. And when I look at the outcome of things like that if the chosen people narrative means I can execute somebody else wantonly without repercussions, without any kind of concern for the loss of life or the well-being of somebody else, you have a problem. And if that mindset and that purpose comes from a book, then the book has a problem. And as long as we can't stop long enough to say, is this really the right thing? Is this really what the highest vision we have of a loving creator can do? Or could it be something better? I had to get to the point where I could say, no, I think God is better than what we've been given. And that's why I made the decision that I did. In the conversation we're having right now, your purpose is going to be derived from what you see as better or higher or inspiring to yourself. And if you have something that's inspiring to you, that is okay with the murder of something else, guess what it's going to make you? So you have to make a decision on what does your purpose come from and what is it driving in you. And yes, sometimes that means you're going to have to look at somebody who you grew up with or instructed you or taught you or raised you and said, I think we can do better than this. So I'm done.
Yeah, man. That's deep, man. It's really deep. I mean, just having our conversations concerning this purpose and looking at the information, like Mike said, he don't really care for that word, but for the lack of, another word to use, I'm gonna just use it, or the data. What does that do? What does that data do for you? And what are you becoming at the end of that? Do you actually feel justified and validated after that act is done? If you do, man, there's something going on. You know what I mean? There's something going on. Someone's lying and it ain't God. You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So,
Facts.
one line at a time. Got a comment here. On point, Mike. We as individuals are the written epistles as also written in the script.
That's exactly right.
That's true.
That's
and that's what
exactly
we
right.
do not forget, man. We see.
And some of us write our thoughts down. Some of us write those revelations down.
Yeah, and that's what the scripture. That's what people don't understand. Like when you look at the Bible, you got to realize those are experience of between God and man and women, right? It's the experience that's jotted down, and what we can do is that you can take from it. It's here a line, here a little, there a little. Precept upon precept. It's taking those things and becoming the best version of yourself you possibly can be. And so when you're going back to the allegory of the cave,
It's an alligator of the cave. I'm sorry.
it almost came out right. So when you talk about the allegory of the cave, I think it was phenomenal, right? Because I spoke to many people that are in church that is totally against Plato, right? And I think to myself, like, okay, we have to be merciful in our mindset when people that may or may have not had an encounter with God. End of story. The very moment we put ourselves in a position of judgment, we're done. And,
yes.
and when I look at the allegory of the cave, I ask myself, at one point, at one assignment, I was either the man carrying the images, or I was the man on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
And
we've all been all three of the characters.
And that's the key. That's the key. So don't be honest. Once again, number one, be honest. Number two, like you said, challenge status quo in the cave. And number three, seeking deeper clarity, being released and checking out the real.
Yeah.
I think that's key, man. But I'm done.
I think so too. So my thought is, you said you had many conversations with people who would dismiss the impact that Plato had on the way that we think, or that we even consider life. My thought is that those are futile arguments, and the reason why I say that is because I would be willing to, maybe not bet, but let's just say that. I'll be willing to bet for lack of a better term. I would be willing to bet that the people who you've had those conversations with have zero idea of what Plato has ever said or written. They just know that Plato is not the name of a book in the Bible, and then they dismiss it. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of, we have, evidence that Paul has quoted famous philosophers, Socrates and Plato. But you listen to Paul.
Exactly.
But he could quote it word for word, and because it came out of Paul's mouth as opposed to, and so my thought is those are the type of arguments that I would refuse to even have. Like if somebody says, if I say, I was looking into the allegory of the cave, and here's how the story plays out, and this is what it kind of means, and if somebody says, I don't believe in all that kind of stuff because that wasn't no Bible, philosophy, blah blah blah, I'm just gonna say, oh, all right, you got it. Yeah. That's literally, I'm not spending a single ounce of energy on that.
So there's a sense of hypocrisy that I find in once again, not all but many religions and some confined thought processes, right? And one thing that I try my best to do within myself is try to find the hypocrisies within myself so I don't violate God, right?
Yes.
And I think that comes to your 3 steps. I think that being purposeful with my thoughts, number one, right? and being mindful that the words that I'm speaking, my audience may not receive right off bat, especially if someone has been indoctrinated in a way of thinking that kind of hinders or limits them in some type of way. So whenever I do that, I always remind me of myself. When I encounter someone that thinks like that, going back to what you said, hey, man.
Yeah.
I kind of remind myself, I kind of go to the point of reminding myself that I was there once.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm a little softer, you know what I mean, when it comes to that. Go ahead, bro.
Yes. So I agree with you, and because I've been there too.
Yeah.
But here's my counterpoint to that.
Yeah.
When you were there, could you have been reached? No. No.
Yeah.
You had to wait until your inner dialogue said that to you. It couldn't have come from me. It couldn't have come from G. It couldn't have come from a pastor. It couldn't have come from Plato himself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know. I know.
And so like we've all been there, like you said, we've all been in a mindset and we still are. You know, there are certain things that
absolutely.
I will vehemently reject because I don't hold to it. I don't believe it. And if at some point some new revelation comes around and I'm still being honest and challenging the status quo and seeking deeper clarity, if it comes to me and it's something that is pointing me towards the purpose that I've found, then okay.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, I wouldn't waste it. Bro, listen. To me, it's just, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I just have a lack of, I can't say I would have a lack of patience, because if it's something where we're willing to dialogue, if it's something that somebody's willing to engage in, then I'm absolutely going to stand my ground and we can kind of contend in a respectful manner, obviously. But if it's just immediately dismissed,
right.
All right.
So I think to go back to what
dust
you're
off
saying,
my shoes.
to go back to what you're saying, I think that, so like, does that thought process personally impact you in some type of way? Where and what I mean by that is the stuff that we read, I didn't create. I can only deal with the manifestations and the thought processes that happen within. No one should be able to argue with me against that. You understand what I'm saying?
No, not really.
Like, you know what I'm saying? If that dialogue, okay, let me be clear. So if I feel like, and we definitely off of purpose, but when I'm thinking about, like, as far as, like, I believe God was dealing with me. Okay. And you know me, I'm not going to say, well, God told me. That's not my thing. But the only reason I'm making my point clear on so people know when I'm talking about, I feel that God was dealing with me. Why? Okay. Because it was a challenging point within my own self. How dare somebody come to me and say, like, no, that wasn't God dealing with you. That's what I'm saying. That's the only point that I'm making. It's like, no, when you know that it's love that's being produced and the consequences that come after the dialogue is love, brother, come on.
Yeah, bring it on.
Come on, bring it on.
Yeah.
And sometimes it don't feel good. Most of the time when those thoughts in your head don't feel good, it don't feel comfortable, because what it does is it's challenging you to become better, but you want to stay at a certain position because you're trying to avoid the pursuit.
Yeah.
But when you pursue it, you feel so much better because you're finally realizing, I've been wasting my time all this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like,
to your point, growth is uncomfortable. Growth is synonymous with discomfort.
And then pains for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. That phrase didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then also to further to your point, when you resist, it hurts more. It's more uncomfortable. Think about
kick against the pricks.
Yeah, exactly. But think about just in nature. Think about if you have a plant that is, that you're taking care of and nourishing, and you have it in a pot. Once it has grown to a certain degree, it's going to get what's called root bound, which means that it's just going to grow around and around in a circle in the root, and it can't grow much bigger because of that. But that's uncomfortable for the plant. The only way you can, kind of help it to continue growing is by breaking or taking it out of that pot, putting it somewhere else where it has more space to grow. That discomfort is literally just to what you were just describing. 100%. You were staying in that small pot too long. Now you're root bound. Now you're more uncomfortable than you would have been if you just expanded in the first place.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I love that, brother. Here's another point right here. The book has a problem, he says in quotes. The book has a problem as we already know, written words are subject to the understanding and interpretation of the reader. If we don't know God, we are subject to misinterpretation of his words. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, very
Does
true.
that come
Very
from
true.
Cole, Brother
Yep,
Cole?
Brother Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree that that our interpretations will determine how we view anything we see or read or experience. I'm curious, if you're still in the comments, I'm curious, are you suggesting that the problem lies specifically in our interpretations today, or are you saying that there are some issues that are, that are just objectively issues, and then we further mess those up? I'm curious.
He did a bunch of 100%.
He said what?
It was a bunch of 100%.
Oh, okay.
100.
100.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's typing or not, but
All right.
yeah. Give him a few seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's why he should have just been here.
I love it. Yeah, but the thing is what we're talking here is gonna rub people wrong, but that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a good thing. It's gonna challenge people.
Yeah, let it challenge you.
Yeah, go ahead, G.
That's all. I'm just adding on what you're saying, bro.
Yeah.
Let it challenge you, not discourage you, make you angry.
Yeah, discomfort, like we talked about it last week when we talked about suffering. Like finding a way to embrace things that make us uncomfortable are usually the way that we're going to find growth
100%.
in life.
Yep.
Even conversations like this, like I've been very uncomfortable during a lot of this conversation, mostly because I'm saying things that I normally would not say in a setting like this where it's broadcasted to,
Understood.
But without that discomfort for me,
Yeah.
there are certain heights that I can't reach. And then without the discomfort for some of the good ground that it may fall on, it may take longer for somebody else to open their eyes. Help me to stay humble with my speech.
Yeah.
It may take longer for somebody to make a decision to challenge where they are,
Yeah.
because I think that we all have a responsibility to do so. There's a reason why the people in Berea had a specific shout out.
Yeah.
We have a go ahead.
No, check this out. So, Brother James responded, both. He says both to your questions.
Oh, okay.
So he said, we know that there are errors in translation, but a carnal mind cannot understand spiritual truths.
That's very true. I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah. This was very empowering episode. I hope somebody is blessed from it. Anybody have any last words or anything like that?
Yeah, walk in purpose. Walk in purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Start setting intentions for things that are simple, and then it's easier to set intentions for bigger things. So you can set intentions to say, I'm not going to press snooze on my alarm tomorrow morning. My intention is for my feet to hit the floor when my alarm goes off. That's small, but if you start to walk and move along the course of life with intention for even the smallest things, if you're faithful over those small things, then your responsibilities can grow as you become more and more intentional.
Agreed.
Don't forget to be honest, brutally honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows what you say in your own mind. You can be as honest and free as you dare to be, essentially. Make a decision to be honest. Ask questions about the things that you believe. Ask questions. Mm-hmm. If it's true, if it's real, it will stand up to scrutiny. And then third, seek clarity. Keep honesty in mind. Keep the questions in mind while you seek clarity. Weigh it against the scale of your own soul, so to speak. I know that sounded deep as heck, but weigh it in terms of the benefit that it provides for your own soul, for the will of God, for the souls of others around you. And I think you'll be okay.
Awesome.
Very
G,
well said.
you got anything?
Very well said. I'm good.
Yeah, I am too. Hey, everyone, this is Let Your Words Count. We are so glad you watched. And the viewers on, I appreciate you guys in your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope to see you next time. God bless you.
Peace. Love y'all.
Later.